Good morning, everyone. My name is Susana Guerrero. I am member of the in-class team at Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. Thank you for your participation in this second day of the academic recognition webinar. This webinar is organized in the framework of the in-class project, which is a training program for rapid and sustainable inclusion of refugee students at STEM universities in Europe, and it is founded by Erasmus. In this second day, we have 3 sessions around the access system to higher education in Spain. Each session will take a duration of 40 minutes, including questions. Please, if you have any question, you can write it in the chat, or you can ask the speaker directly after her presentation. Our first session is about a white paper, an initiative promoted by 6 public universities in Madrid, and it is presented by Elena López from Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. Elena has a master in strategies and technologies for human development. She's a member of the technical team of the Department of International Cooperation of the UPM. She has been a member of the working group for the elaboration of the white paper, and she's member of the in-class project team. She currently participates in the meeting of the working group of the Sectorial Commission for Internationalization and Cooperation of the Conference of Rectors of Spanish University, CRUE, as a member of the Office for Refugee Assistance at the UPM. She has been in charge of assisting Ukrainian students and their integration into the university system. Thank you, Elena, for your participation, and go ahead.
Good morning. I'm going to share my presentation, first of all. Thank you, Susana, for the presentation. It's a pleasure to share this space with you this morning with Ana Laura and Kachi. And good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for your participation today in this course dedicated to academic recognition, which is part of the INGENIERIA project, as Susana said. You are very welcome. In this presentation, I'll try to explain what the white paper on access to Madrid University is, and how this opportunity to joint work started, what has been done so far, what this teamwork proposal has meant, and what remains to be done, the challenges for the future and the lessons learned. The purpose of the working group is to prepare a white paper that clarifies and provides all the actors with the necessary information for the incorporation and full integration of refugees in higher education studies in public universities in the community of Madrid. Especially through the collaboration of the main actors involved, just contributing in those areas in which they have a greatest expertise and interacting to enrich the results. How did it start? In 2018, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Spain contacted the universities when it was detected that the information offered in the universities regarding access, as well as all processing of the documentation that must be done previously, was not easy to find or updated in most cases. It is important to remember that at that time, most universities did not have an office to provide personal attention to this type of request and to serve as a guide for refugees or asylum-seeking students. For instance, in the case of our university, the UPM, we did have an office to assist foreign students who requested help with the processing of their residence permissions as students during the period of the stay. But we had great difficulties in attending to the situations that came up when we have to attend to asylum seekers or students with refugee status. As this was a new situation, we did not have qualified staff to support us in these issues. I would like to remind you, as already indicated last week, that in 2018, only 1% of refugees had access to education, while the global average for higher education enrollment among non-refugees is around 40%. Well, UNHCR's proposal was to prepare a working group that would bring together, on the one hand, universities supporting everything, and host entities, as well as those responsibles of the administrations of student access to the university system. In that case, as we have seen, was the Ministry of Education and the Community de Madrid, all in order to develop a white paper that clarifies and provides all actors with the necessary information for the incorporation and full integration of refugees to higher education in the public universities of Madrid. In this way, each of the parties will be able to contribute in those aspects in which they have more experience interacting to enrich the results. The Ministry of Education, through a study of degree recognition system, the Community de Madrid are responsible for the single entry system in the public universities of Madrid and regulator of tuition fees, the universities to facilitate access, and the host entities to cover the different needs of people where the administration do not reach. On the other hand, the Global Compact on Refugees and Complementary Pathways in Protection through Education was used as a framework, as there is a great deal of interest in protection access initiatives related to higher education. To start with, a survey carried out previously among the participants, both universities and organizations, was presented to find out their opinion on access to and pursuit of higher education for applicants and beneficiaries of international protection. Among the results, the first difficulties noted were documentation, accrediting studied, for instance, not having the original documentation necessary to justify previous studies, which did not facilitate homologation. Access to information, this was not accessible. There was not general information point for all universities, and in most cases there was not a staff who could effectively deal with this request. Limited places available, more in degree with high demand, and non-native Spanish speakers require a B2 certification in Spanish. And finally, the dialogue between the different partners revealed that there were difficulty in accessing information and identifying candidates. Difficult access to information for refugees, difficult for technicians to provide advice, difficult to get information to universities, and a lack of data on refugees and their educational profile. As a result, this shows that there was an important need for more work and joint analysis. So after several meetings with all these previous analyses, it is decided to hold a joint working group that will lead to the drafting of a manual or white paper to facilitate access to the European higher education system for refugees and asylum seekers in our community or region. The following agreements are taken in order to be able to continue with the work. What the structure should be, the approach, didactic, practical, and useful, the distribution of the work among the different partners, operational organization on 2 levels, and a smaller one to speed up the process, and a larger one for the presentation of progress. Harmonization by a single entity, in this case UNHCR, and a publication format. This must be hosted on the website of the Community of Madrid, with access, of course, to the websites for the other entities, as well as being translated into several languages to make it more accessible. The structure of the book would be divided into 4 chapters in what would be a working role for each of the parts of the partners. Chapter 1 would be devoted to the study of international protection in Spain, and it would be the host entities and UNHCR would be in charge of this study. Chapter 2 would deal with the Spanish education system and the homologation and recognition of diplomas, and would be carried out by the Ministry of Education and the Community of Madrid. Chapter 3 would be the responsibility of the universities, as it concerns access to education and the recognition of diplomas. And finally, chapter 4 is dedicated to the development of studies and resources, which would be work on jointly with the host entities and universities. In addition, the following aspects should be considered when drafting the document. The specific target audience, refugee students, technicians, administration staff, or university staffs. The different phases of the process: access, accreditation, and development of studies. The type of studies: bachelor's, master's, doctorate, or other. Problems detected, such as documentary requirements, financial requirements, language knowledge, study program compatibility, associated costs, etc. Well, at that point, universities start to work in access to higher education with chapter 3. And in this chapter, they had the universities had the competence to develop tools to facilitate access to Madrid universities for potential refugees and asylum seekers in order to take into consideration all the possible variants that could occur, both in the person applying for access and in the higher education system itself. Well, we have some previous considerations, as there are no administrative impediments for a refugee to access university studies. The procedures can be initiated even if the person does not yet have refugee status in Spain. It's a problem to obtain the refugee status obtained in another European country. They do not usually have the documentary requirements of the procedures, possibility of accreditation test, or facilitating access to the access exam. Limitation of available places. And finally, in the case of started studies, the validation of subjects is the responsibility of the university departments. We study all different routes of access. From this point, we started to study all the possible options for access to higher education system in Madrid, from undergraduate studies without previous studies to undergraduate studies with previous studies or to undergraduate studies or the incorporation to doctoral studies. A first draft was made and reviewed later by all universities, and it was presented at one of the last working group meetings. The main challenges that have not yet been solved are mainly proposing a common solution to cases of lack of documentation. The profile of refugees can be very changing. Need to observe this frequently enough. We are seeing this very directly now with the Ukrainian refugee situation. For instance, position on the risk to continuity or conclusion of studies of asylum seekers. Discuss and clarify the possibility and opportunity of establishing a specific reserve percentage for the refugee population. Dialogue with the community of Madrid on the possible exemption of fees and internal debate in universities. Promote employability and help graduates who want to stay to find a job in our country, and dump the contributions in the final format of the white paper with all the contributions and the different language to be translated. Chapter 3 was completed before the pandemic, but the current situation has changed because the COVID, because recent migration crisis, and of course the war in Ukraine will lead to changes in parts of the chapter. And the host organizations have not been able to continue with because with the relevant part of because the continuous humanitarian crisis. And a further meeting is pending to share progress. To conclude, I think it is important to look at the strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities in this whole process. Strengths, as strengths, we have an international and national regulatory framework in place. The administration is a part of the working group, and this is very important. All universities have worked together before in many different issues, and the members of the group know each other, and a good working atmosphere was created. And the current humanitarian crisis situation has created a climate of greater empathy. But of course, we have as well weaknesses, as the homologation of studies is very tedious and time-consuming. The entry quotas are very small. Fees for asylum seekers is very, very high. And not all universities have staff trained to deal with refugees and who know the law in a proper way. Tools such as the European qualifications passport are not used, which makes it very difficult for students to enter studies directly. And the working group has not been able to complete the work. Main threats could be the emergence of new migration crisis. Working group fails to finish the book to support the student entry to Madrid universities. The fee system will not be made more flexible, or universities work separately and do not create a single system of equal access for all. But we have opportunities as well. As the current flexibility to provide the push to help accelerate the procedures. There are 6 universities working together, so the spectrum is wider to cover all options. Use the positive experiences and that have worked in other countries, such as the European qualifications passport for refugees and the UNESCO passport as well. Host organizations, after the social movement we are living through, will approach the part with a much wider knowledge. And ad hoc support given to Ukrainian students will make it easier for them to access a simpler system of access. As a conclusion, I would like to say that the current situation we are living, the one we suffered a few years ago with the Syrian crisis, had made us see the importance of networking and promoting alliances. Only in this way will we be able to create a real force that moves the rigid and not very agile structures that we have in the access system in universities in Spain. It's true that we have international regulations that protect us when it comes to move forward, but sometimes our own national regulations stop us and don't allow us to advance at the same level as all other surrounding countries. And there is even inequality between autonomous communities in Spain. The truth is that reality always puts us in our place, and when we have to act in emergency situation, it makes us grow and move forward. But it is not only at this moment that we have to react. We know that more and more we are going to find this demand, and we need to have new tools or use the ones that we have already worked well and use them as a basis for our work. The opportunity of having 6 public universities of the size of the universities of Madrid, as well as the support of the administration and the push of the host entities, should give us the impetus to continue working and to move forward to create a valid tool that is easy to use, versatile and adaptable to the different situations and changes that are generated. It is essential that all the universities in Madrid, without losing their idiosyncrasies, of course, can offer the same system of access with a single entrance to the Madrid area, offering the same solutions to the same problems, and especially increasing the sensitivity of the entire university community in order that all students, whatever their origin or condition, have the same opportunities. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena, for your presentation. We have a comment in the chat from Kaisa. Yes. Thanks for the presentation and important work, Elena. I found it useful that you also agreed on principles together before embarking on the joint work. Her question is, I wonder how the white paper has impacted on the situation for refugee students. You mentioned as offices created fees dropped. Thank you.
Well, I mean, if white paper was using during crisis or something. Sorry, but I can't hear you properly.
The question is the impact of the white paper in the situation of refugee students.
Yes. Well, the reality is that having an overview and knowledge of the access system and the difficulties we could find helped us to act quickly, although the speed with the events did not allow us to act as we would have liked. After an initial meeting with all the universities to discuss the situation of possible Ukrainian students who could enter in Madrid universities, we thought that the best idea would be to offer a bridge course in order to accommodate students so that they could at least take some subjects, live with other than university students and learn Spanish quickly in order to facilitate the access. We passed all this information to the rectors to see the possibility of creating a similar system in all the universities, but in the end, we could not reach a joint way of working because we did not have a joint framework at the end for acting. And it was impossible to create one so quickly. Finally, each university did the best it could to accommodate students with all the options options available for them. For instance, here in UPM at our university, we decided to follow the bridge course system. We had the advantage to have the Erasmus grant opportunity to offer to our students to take a number of subjects that would allow them to have direct access next year. This meant that they would have financial help with the grant, as well as free Spanish and English courses, and all the support we could offer from our refugee office and the Erasmus office as well. And I know that other universities, such as Carlos III, they created an early admission commission and to speed up the admission process. And they also offered financial aid. But white paper, I can say that it was not so useful because the situation was so quick, so rapid that we couldn't create something together. And most of the white paper were not already finished. So that's the reason I think that we need work more and more in this white paper altogether in order to get a new one.
Thank you, Elena. Anyone have any other questions? I have one. In the actual Ukrainian crisis, the white paper is, which is the usefulness of the white paper in this actual context?
Well, I think we can use all the recommendations of Chapter 3 to access to the university, because it's the only one that is already finished. And but I think especially because we have all the regulation in there, and maybe it could be useful. But the question is, we didn't disseminate all that information in the different schools and in our university, for instance, because we consider that the white paper is not already finished. So we think it's only a part, the Chapter 3 and 3 that is finished. So maybe it's not so useful just now. But maybe, yes, maybe we could make a big effort to disseminate even all we have.
Okay. Thank you, Elena. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you for the invitation
If
to
anyone,
participate.